The U.S. is going to do more aid for Gaza, but we'd like to have other countries participate. We're going to mention that to the European Union today. You know, that's an international problem. It's not a U.S. problem. It's an international problem. And we're giving a lot of money and a lot of food and a lot of everything. If we weren't there, I think people would have starved, frankly. They would have starved. And it's not like they're eating well. But a lot of that food is getting stolen by Hamas. You know, they're stealing the food. They're stealing.
Oh yeah, many such cases. The pressure on Israel has been ramping up considerably lately. You know, I think that Macron's declaration that in September the state of France will recognize the state of Palestine was probably not like the cause of, but a demarker at least of the fact that. I don't know. There's just less international appetite for this. I don't know. I don't want to engage in any apologetics. I don't want to pretend that Western leaders are finally awakening to the horror or whatever. Everyone knows what's been going on. The Israeli military has been pressured into allowing pauses for humanitarian aid to come in. Whether or not this actually does anything, of course, you know, we know the IDF still blocks, diverts, or destroys shipments of aid and then guns down people as they approach them. So it's not exactly a done deal. The 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. pause is daily until further notice. So yeah, if you're still trying to get food at 8:01 p.m., they shoot you, I assume. Unironically, yes. Yeah. The BBC has been allowing for some actual reporting on the subject. Well, that's nice. Israel says it'll open routes to allow aid convoys into Gaza. We need a real solution. Gazans welcome aid plan, but fear it will not end crisis. I saw even Matt Iglesias on Twitter say, I think he said something to the effect of like, now I know a lot of people have been crying wolf over this and they were wrong to, but now finally at this point and only at this point, I agree that there is a starvation crisis in Gaza or something like that, you know? Damn, it really is the whole front page though. Israel intercepts Gaza-bound activist boat carrying food aid. Gaza airdrops a grotesque distraction. Aid agencies war. Almost a third of people in Gaza not eaten for days. UN food program war. Yeah, it's the whole... It does represent a kind of shift. I just, you know, it's so difficult to be any kind of optimistic when given the way things have panned out thus far, we have not been given many reasons to go, you know, oh yeah, this is it. This is the shift. Finally, people are waking up. On Sunday, the Hamas-run health ministry, thank you, BBC, said 6 more people had died from malnutrition, bringing the number since the start of the conflict to 133. That is so woefully small. There's absolutely not. Now, the Gaza health ministry death toll, like, kept going up and ticking up towards 60,000, and then, like, around a year ago, it just stopped ticking, and it's because they were no longer able to count, but people have been pretending the death toll hasn't been escalating since. We'll get excess mortality numbers eventually, but there have been some pretty credible reports suggesting the number of dead number closer to like 300 to 500,000, depending on, you know, it's not as if the IDF makes it easy. They keep killing journalists, like a record number of journalists, like more than anyone ever, basically. But no one cares. Real journalists are white Europeans. Dude, they've killed they've killed Americans. They've killed aid workers and journalists from the West. They don't fucking care. They don't give a shit. Gaza aid site offered a woman-only day. That's fucking woke. Data with source attribution here. Is this using the numbers provided by the Gaza Health Ministry? It looks like it is. Yeah. So this is like a person-by-person count. This is the one for which we have names. Grim business, which is probably why all the fonts in red. Yeesh. But the numbers are likely so much higher. The health ministry has the most accurate numbers. Well, they have the most detailed information on the numbers that exist. But there's been a tapering off, you know? There's been a tapering off of the count. It's I don't know. Who knows when we're going to get access or access to good excess mortality numbers. It might be years from now. Same with the Ukraine war, you know? We might not fully get an estimate of how many people have died on either side until after the war is over. We should consider this a minimum dead count. Oh, sure, this is a minimum, to be sure, but I'm sure the number is much higher than that. These are the sources. What is this, fucking GitHub? Extrapolated X fields. I'm too far out from my last attempt at coding a video game in Unity to understand what any of this means. I'm kidding. Kind of. Yeah, ain't good. Just the daily sources section, lol. Can't help my brain. Under international pressure, Israel slightly eased the blockade in May. Since then, it has allowed about 4,500 trucks for the UN and others to distribute. The average of 69 trucks a day is far below the 500 to 600 trucks the UN says are needed. Yep, that is a smaller number. That is true. The UN says it has been unable to distribute much aid because hungry crowds and gangs take most of it from the trucks. Well, yeah, those are the people who want the aid, right? I mean, yeah, that kind of makes sense, right? You don't like you didn't have the opportunity to distribute the grain to the starving people because when you brought the grain truck in, the starving people went to the truck and got the grain. They didn't wait for you to hand it out nicely. I mean, they were starving, so yeah, how rude of them. Bet they ate the grain rations with their elbows on the table too. This framing. Well, I like the fact that they're using the word gang as well. Like, I assume they mean gang in the I guess the inform or like the colloquial, like gang is in like a group of people kind of moving in with a coordinated effort. But the way they say it, like gang is such a sinister word, you know? Hungry thugs looting the food, yeah. Fucking honestly, man. Oh yeah, this happened yesterday. Intercepted another aid-bound flotilla. Much like the one with Greta Thunberg on it. Same gist. Took down the security cameras. Give me a vid. Give me a vid. No? We don't believe in that? We don't believe in those? I know Western media is talking about this. Day late. Honestly. Here, there we go. Jesus, sorry, that took me a sec.
Israel has denied that there is starvation in Gaza, but has also released a statement saying it will begin a series of actions aimed at improving the humanitarian response in the Strip. Trucks have been seen heading south in Gaza as Egyptian media report on the movement of aid trucks moving towards the Karem Abu Salem crossing. Israel says it will establish designated corridors to enable the safe movement of UN convoys delivering food and medicine to the population. It's also said it is prepared to implement humanitarian pauses in dense...
I don't think I've seen you talk much about how Gazans used to farm a lot to make their own food. Important to talk about the counter the colonial narrative that Gazans are savages. Well, I haven't talked much about the farmland business, but like, yeah, Gaza was a extremely densely populated urban center before all this happened. Like, I mean, with a relatively well-educated population, universities, hospitals, obviously, we've heard lots about those. Trades, crafts. I mean, like, it's in terms of development, there's variance, right? But you could probably find, like, infrastructurally similarly developed dense urban corridors in places like, you know, India, China, Vietnam. I mean, you know, areas that are like a little more poor than what you'd expect walking through most major dense American cities, but nonetheless are, you know, it's a real place. It's always been kind of an open air concentration camp, at least for a long while now, but you know, Gaza had a pretty impressive greenhouse setup. We love our solar punk aesthetic, don't we, folks?
Populated areas. Gaza's main entry point for humanitarian aid is through the Karem Abu Salem crossing. Around 500 trucks of aid entered Gaza daily through the crossing before the war. The UN Agency for Palestinian Refugees, UNRWA, halted the delivery of aid through the crossing in December last year, citing security concerns. Al Jazeera's Hind Khudari joins us live now from Deir al-Balah with more on all of this. So Hind, let's address this first. Israel has announced daily pauses in military activity in 3 areas of Gaza, and that begins right now, 10 a.m. local time. But Israel also said that these were parts of Gaza where it wasn't operating militarily. So what does this actually mean?
Sure.
Well, they have been definitely operating militarily because last night, the Israeli forces targeted in Al-Birka Street and a couple of Palestinians have been killed. But what they mean is that they're not present on the ground. They are not invading that area. And those areas are 3. Al-Mawasi, which is Khan Yunis, and it has been continuously been bombed and attacked by the Israeli forces where Palestinians are sheltering. Deir al-Balah, where we are right now, and also the Gaza City. And this is only 12% of Gaza's area. Now, there are a lot of areas that are marked in red, and these areas...
You know what's really cool that I love? Nobody, including Trump, because he's also cucked to the sort of, you know, Israeli MIC complex here. Nobody ever asks Israel, hey, when are you going to be fucking done? Like, the Gaza Strip is really small, and the IDF is huge and well armed. Like, what do you, by what measure are we still fighting this conflict? What is happening? You know, what do you do? Just this years long. When the fuck does it end? When the hostages are back? What hostages? Who? Name them and where? Well, like, where are they? What areas have been left unaccessible to you or inaccessible to you? You know, it's insane. It's like, can you imagine? Like, Israel is like a developed modern military, and they've been effectively waging like a near 2-year war over one city. It's like one urban area worth of size. Can you imagine? Like, we make fun of Russia for their slow creep across Ukraine. You know, a snail would have made it to Kiev by now. But like, it's a fucking blitzkrieg compared to the pace at which the IDF moves. Obviously, the IDF just wants to, you know, slaughter civilians wholesale. We know they're not actually trying to do anything. But like, nobody asks Netanyahu this. Nobody asks like, hey, it's kind of weird, you know, how long it's taken you to do this. Like, what are you doing?
Are not supposed to be safe as designated by the Israeli forces, and they also said that Palestinians are not allowed to return to their houses or to check on their houses, and in that it won't be safe. But we are still waiting to see what is going to happen. We're talking about a humanitarian pause, a tactical humanitarian pause where the Israeli authorities are going to let in trucks, and they're going to let in humanitarian aid come into the Gaza Strip. And this comes after months of zero trucks entering. We're talking about a very sad and deteriorating reality here in the Gaza city, where Palestinians are dying every single day to starvation. Now, if there is going to be any airstrikes, we still don't know. Is there going to be any artillery shelling? We still don't know. What is going to happen in the next hours? We're going to know what this tactical pause, this humanitarian pause is going to mean. But they're saying that it starts from 8 a.m. Is a couple of hours, sorry. It's going to start at 10 a.m. right now until 8 p.m. every single day. But we don't know if this is going to continue, but they mentioned that this is going to be the case daily until further notice.
And the Israeli military is also saying now that it is designating secure routes so that the UN and other aid groups can deliver food and medicine into the Gaza Strip. What are you learning about that?
We're still waiting to know, and we're still waiting to hear more and see on the ground what this means. Now, there is Karam Abu Salim, there is Kusifim in the middle area, and there's also Zakim. We're talking about 3 routes where the trucks are supposed to enter the Gaza.
Yeah, I think we get the gist. Have there been any supposed Hamas attacks recently? Dude, I've been saying this for over a year now, which is like, does Hamas still exist in some capacity? Yes, they do. But like, any pretense of this being some kind of war equal conflict has to be shattered by the fact that, you know, every day you hear 57 stories of atrocities against civilians. How often do you hear about Hamas killing IDF soldiers, right? How much is there like a back and forth? The IDF has basically stopped even trying to claim that what they're doing is against Hamas anymore. Like, it's all just implied now. It's not like, oh, we made a move against a Hamas run, this and that. There are tunnels here, there are this and that there. Now it's just like, yeah, bombs fall randomly. I don't fucking know. Targeted the most humane military on earth, etc., etc. Like, there are some casualties to Hamas, at least if the IDF is to be believed. But like, Jesus. Not many. Not relative to what's going on. Here's the video in the flotilla. There are other videos on the ongoing malnutrition crisis, but what I'm looking at Al Jazeera shows a lot of stuff that I feel kind of uncomfortable showing on YouTube, you know? Some very dead-looking people. Very grim.
Okay, if you you're just joining us, I just want to show you these pictures that have come through to Al Jazeera just in the last few minutes. The pictures you're seeing on the scene are of people on the Handela Freedom vessel. This is a boat that departed earlier this week from Italy. The aim of the boat is to break Israel's siege on the Gaza Strip. So the boat was intending to make its way to Gaza and drop aid, much-needed aid, to the people in Gaza. So what has happened, we believe, in the last few minutes, these are not live pictures, but they have come through in the last few minutes, is the boat has now been intercepted by the Israeli military. It's difficult to tell exactly what is happening, but you can see there members of the Israeli military there on the boat. These are the pictures that have come through to us just in the last few minutes before the live...
Just pirates at this point? Yeah, it's super cool how they can menace people in international waters, and nobody even questions them. It's super, super cool.
Feed that we had from the boat dropped out. So it seems the boat has now been intercepted by the Israeli military. So this is the Handela Freedom vessel, which departed earlier this week, heading towards Gaza. I'm not sure how closely it has managed to reach Gaza. It's unclear how far off it is, but it has now been intercepted. It was hoping to deliver much-needed food and aid, including baby formula, for those who are so desperately in need in Gaza. Now, there was a boat that was intercepted about a month ago, and it too was intercepted. It was carrying the...
Riveting stuff. What are the chances these men are dead? Nah, it's probably not. It's detain them or for some length of time. Probably want to avoid that much smoke, you know? I feel like they have been... I mean, at the very least, the fact that they're allowing for a humanitarian pause right now does indicate that they're succumbing to some kind of international pressure. But who knows, man? It's impossible to say. There's basically like no level of cynicism that is unwarranted when it comes to Israel and its behavior and the way people react to it. You know, the way like Western media and Western governments defend them. Like, you could be as cynical as you want. You're probably going to be correct, you know? You always should lean on that side. I don't know. I really hope Macron's recognition does something. I really hope that it signifies something. I hope it actually happens, that he wasn't just talking, because Macron does love to blab. He loves to blab. Macron loves to blab. But it would be nice. Grim fucking topic, man. They using fucking AI art at the BBC on this article for the Woman-Only Aid Distribution Day. That's great. Might be clip art. I don't know. It's pretty yellow. It's pretty... there are some signs. Nah, just very corporate style. I don't know. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It doesn't fucking matter. Jesus, man. For Gaza's 2 million people, there are just 4 GHF distribution sites, but typically no more than 2 open on any given day. On Thursday, the sisters Mary and Kaula set off early for the aid point at the southern Rafah area. By the time they arrived, the scene was already chaos. There was a huge crowd of women, and the place seemed out of control. They couldn't offload and distribute the aid, Kaula said. They started spraying the women with pepper spray, and then they brought stun grenades and started throwing them on the women to force them backwards. The sisters got split up in the mayhem. Kaula's clothes were full of pepper spray, and so she called her sister, agreeing to meet at their brother's house. Shortly after, she called again, feeling something wasn't right. This time, a stranger picked up. He told me the owner of the phone was shot and was taken to the Red Cross Field Hospital. I called again, and this time I was told she was shot in the head. I ran like crazy and called again, but this time I was told the owner of the phone had been killed. There's never even the question asked, like, why did this happen? You know what I mean? Like, the legitimacy of the IDF's actions are always taken for granted. When stuff like this happens, it's like, well, you know, it's, yeah, natural disaster language. You know, you remove from them the agency. Never any inquiries, never any real outrage. One of the GHF guns for hire, a former U.S. Special Forces Lieutenant Colonel. Hold on.
I witnessed the Israeli Defense Forces shooting at the crowds of Palestinians. I witnessed the Israeli Defense Forces firing a a main gun tank round into a crowd of people, destroying a car of civilians that were simply driving away from the site. I witnessed mortar rounds being fired at the crowds of people to keep them controlled onto the Morag corridor in the south.
As a professional soldier with a very long career, what was your professional opinion of what was happening?
That's a question.
My professional opinion of how the sites were established was what I would describe as amateur, inexperienced, untrained, no idea of how to conduct operations of this magnitude. That would be my most benign assessment. In my most frank assessment, I would say that they're criminal. And I have fought ISIS. I have fought the Taliban. In my entire career, have I never witnessed the level of brutality and use of indiscriminate and unnecessary force against a civilian population, an unarmed, starving population. I've never witnessed that in all of the places I've been deployed to war until I was in Gaza at the hands of the IDF and U.S. contractors.
Jesus. There's video of this guy saying this? Well, I think what matters more is the words than seeing his handsome face while he says it. Yeah. Not trying to run cover for the GWOT, but American soldiers do not act like this. No. It's obvious that the IDF operates, like, uniquely because they're engaged in an ongoing genocide. Like, it's ethno-supremacist. There is a difference between, like, American soldiers being racist and doing a bad war and like an active extermination effort. It's just a difference in scope. It's not really an exoneration of the former. Ugh. Can't wait for the war crime trials to not happen. Yeah. Don't think we're going to get a very satisfying conclusion to this this geopolitical narrative. It'll at least cause the destruction of Israel's support here in the States. Shit isn't unrepairable. Yeah, no kidding. I don't know how it could ever be repaired.